Hi, I'm Jack from Painted Legion, and if you're like me, you probably have your half of the Leviathan box set sat by your desk begging to be painted, but maybe you're struggling to choose the right scheme. For me, the right scheme comes down to a balance between two things: impact and time. By this I mean, do my models look good on the table and up close, and how long will it take me to paint them? In this video I'm going to convince you that Behemoth is the perfect scheme for you if you want to maximize impact and time, and also give you the three concepts that make Behemoth such a great choice. And if you're not convinced that Behemoth is the right scheme for you, then stick around to the end of the video and I'll give you some other Tyranid paint schemes that you can apply those concepts to get the right army for you. For this scheme, we're going to start off with a coat of Flesh Tearers Red over a white prime model. We can talk about our first concept: pick a focus. For something like Space Marines, this tends to be their armor, as it constitutes the majority of the model, and we'll need different techniques to make it stand out based on its color. And I've got some videos coming soon about how I did that for the white armor of my custom Space Marine chapter. Now for this termagant, the flesh is the largest part of the model. However, that's not true for a lot of the Tyranid range, especially some of the new models like the new Biovore, which is pretty much all chitin. So for the Tyranids, we'll generally pick a color or a pattern to be the focus. In my last video, we used traditional glazing to make the flesh of the Grimdark Leviathan model really pop as the focus of the model. On the other hand, in my Hive Fleet C2 tutorial, we use strong contrasting colours and a pattern of a saturated colour highlighted with a near white to make the chitin the focus. I'll put links to both of those in the cards for this video if you'd like to check them out. And while these are both really striking, they are slightly more time-consuming techniques, which is why Behemoth is perfect for speed, as its vibrant red flesh is already a powerful focus and all we have to do is use simple techniques to paint it quickly. We're going to do this using dry brushing. Once we've got a coat of Flesh Tearers Red and it's dried completely, we'll do a heavy dry brush of Mephiston Red, focusing on the parts of the model where the most light would hit. Followed by a lighter dry brush of Ethos and Scarlet on the most raised details, particularly around the face. We'll then use Black Legion to black out the eyes, the teeth, the chitin, the talons, and the hoofs. And as we paint in those black details, it will put into context how strong of a focus we've been able to paint in such a short time. Which brings us on to our second concept, which is support the focus, don't outshine it. Looking back at our Hive Fleet C2 example, we support our focus using colours that are subdued, colours that are neutral, or where we've used other bright colours, they're very small. With Behemoth, we need to be careful, as our second most prominent colour is blue, another primary colour. If we have too much of our brighter blues covering the model, it will make the model look a bit dated, like some of the old schemes from the 90s. It will take away from that powerful red that we have. This is fine if that's what you're aiming for your scheme, but personally I prefer the more modern way of painting, so we'll be using the black that we're painting now to our advantage. Using Stegodon Scale Green, I'm going to use a feathering motion to add colour to the outer third of each chitin plate, leaving most of the black showing. I won't explain this technique too much in this video, but I go into much more detail about how you can master it in the Leviathan and C2 tutorials I mentioned earlier. I'll finish the chitin using Sotek Green, this time being much more sparing with how much of the colour I put on. You could go an additional highlight further using Baharoth Blue if you wanted. I don't in this video to keep things quick, but if you do, you need very little of it to make an impact. Less is more. Only put a small dot of it on the sharpest details, or the cracks in the chitin, or maybe one or two in random places along the edges where there isn't much other detail. Speaking of detail, that segues us nicely into our third and final concept: keep the detail simple. Starting with the gun, we'll use Corn Red for the body of the gun, and Screamer Pink for the gun pipes and the other fleshy bits of the model, like the tongue. We're using colours similar to our main red, so they fit nicely, but don't overpower. It can be very easy to overdo details on a model, which may look good in the end, but cost you a lot of time. And if you go too crazy, the model may look a bit busy. So for the remainder of the details on this model, we'll do a simple colour, then highlight. To highlight the gun body, we'll use Wazdaka Red, then Vallejo Old Rose for the gun pipes and the tongue. Notice that I don't have much paint on my brush for these details. I wipe most of it off on a paper towel and use light dabbing motions to give texture. For the remaining black parts, we'll use highlights of Skavenblight Dinge and Storm Vermin Fur, using the same feathering technique we use for the termagant chitin on the gun chitin and the hooves. Then simple edge highlighting for the talons. For the teeth, we'll use Xandri Dust and a dot highlight of Screaming Skull, making sure to leave a line of black between each tooth. And finally for the eyes, we'll paint them in an off-white, being careful to leave a black outline giving us a good basis to paint Tross layer orange and highlight with a dot of Uriel yellow. Now I wasn't happy with how the gun looked, so I went back and washed it with Agrax Earthshade and re-established the Wazdaka red highlights once it was dry. By following these 3 concepts, I painted this model in just over 20 minutes. If you're still not sure that Behemoth is the right scheme for you, I have a growing playlist of Tyranid schemes linked on the right there. There's a link to the list of paints I used for this model, including what I used for the base, in the description below. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.